Yo, imagine waking up one day, dragging yourself out of bed, heading to work, maybe even writing a book or tackling some big life problem. Sounds like a lot, right? But then, the second something goes wrong, you're like, ugh, forget it, I'm done. We've all been there, haven't we? That's where this dude, David Goggins, comes in with a game-changing way to push through frustration. This guy's story and his cookie jar technique are all about not giving up, even when life feels like it's punching you in the face. Let's break it down in a chill way. First off, who is David Goggins? If you've scrolled through YouTube or Insta, you've probably seen his intense motivational clips or him running at like 5 a.m. The man's a legend. He's a retired U.S. Navy SEAL with a resume that'll make your jaw drop. Picture this. He did over 400 pull-ups in 17 hours. Yeah, you read that right, 17 hours of pull-ups. He's also smashed records in ultra marathons, running 70, 100, and even 220 kilometers. To put that in perspective, 220 kilometers is like running from one city to another, non-stop, in 24 hours. For example, if you're in Iran, that's like running from Tehran to Qom and back, and then some. Most of us would collapse just thinking about it. But here's the wild part. Goggins wasn't always this superhuman. He used to be overweight, depressed, and stuck in a rut. So how did he go from that to being one of the toughest people on the planet? It's all about mindset, and that's where his cookie jar technique comes in. This isn't some complicated science experiment. It's a simple mental trick to keep you going when you feel like quitting. And trust me, it's something we all could have used back in school when we were stressing over exams or life decisions. So, what's the deal with this technique? Goggins says that when you're tired, frustrated, or ready to throw in the towel, you're only using about 40% of your potential. Science backs this up. Think about it. If you're jogging on a treadmill and you're like, I'm done, after 5 minutes, but then someone starts chasing you, like say a leopard or a dude trying to snatch your phone. Suddenly you're sprinting twice as fast for way longer. Your body's got this hidden 60% of energy you haven't tapped into yet. Goggins figured out how to access that extra juice. And it's not about physical strength, it's mental. The cookie jar technique is like a mental power-up. Imagine a jar filled with cookies, but instead of actual cookies, it's packed with all the awesome things you've done in your life. These are your wins, big or small stuff you thought you couldn't do but did anyway. Maybe you aced a test you were sure you'd fail, or you lost a few pounds when everyone said you couldn't. Maybe you walked away from a toxic friend or learned to play a song on the guitar. Every time you hit a wall and feel like giving up, you reach into this cookie jar, pull out one of those memories, and remind yourself, yo, I've done hard stuff before. I got this. Goggins came up with this idea during one of the craziest challenges of his life. The Badwater Ultra Marathon. This isn't your average 5K fun run. It's a 135-mile, 220 kilometers race through the desert, starting 200 meters below sea level and going uphill in brutal heat. Oh, and you've got just 24 hours to finish it. Goggins decided to run it to raise money for families of soldiers who died in war. Problem? He'd never done anything like this before, and he only had 3 days to prepare. Talk about jumping in head first. At the start, he was pumped, cruising through the first 25 miles. But by mile 50, his energy was tanking. By mile 70, his body was in full-on revoltus, urine was bloody, his legs were done, and he was mentally fried. Most people would have quit right there, but Goggins didn't. He dug into his mental cookie jar, remembering all the times he'd pushed through impossible situations, like surviving Navy SEAL training or overcoming his tough childhood. Those memories recharged him. And somehow, he kept going and finished the race, raising the funds he set out to collect. The point? You don't need to be a Navy SEAL to use this technique. We all have our own cookie jars moments when we proved we're tougher than we thought. Maybe you studied all night for an exam and passed, or you stood up to a bully. Those are your cookies. The trick is to keep them in mind so when life gets tough, you can pull one out and remind yourself you're built for this. Cookie jar technique. Building your own jar of wins. Alright, so we talked about David Goggins and his wild journey from being a regular dude to an ultra-tough marathon running machine, all thanks to his cookie jar technique. Now, let's get into the fun part. How you can make your own cookie jar and use it to level up your life. This isn't about running 220 kilometers through a desert, unless that's your thing. Chig. It's about tackling whatever challenges you faces, school, work, relationships, or just getting out of bed on a rough day. What's a cookie jar? Anyway, picture a jar full of your favorite cookies, but instead of chocolate chip or oatmeal raisin, these cookies are your achievements. Every time you've done something you thought was impossible, that's a cookie. Maybe you nailed a presentation at work even though you were nervous as heck. Or you finally hit the gym consistently after months of procrastinating. Could be something smaller, like saying no to a late-night snack when you're trying to eat healthier. Big or small, every win counts. The cookie jar technique is about collecting these moments so you can pull them out when life gets tough and you're ready to quit. Step 1. Build your cookie jar. Here's how you start. Grab a pen and paper, your phone, or even a napkin, whatever works. Write down every moment in your life where you overcame something hard. Think back to times when you were like, no way I can do this, but you did it anyway. Here are some ideas to get you going. School or work wins. Did you pass a crazy hard exam? Finish a project under a tight deadline? Maybe you got a promotion or learned a new skill, like coding or public speaking. Personal wins. Ever lost weight? Quit a bad habit like smoking? Or walked away from a toxic friend? Those are huge cookies. Small but mighty. Maybe you helped a stranger, stood up for yourself, or just got through a really bad day without giving up. For example, Goggins might put in his cookie jar stuff, like finishing SEAL training or running that Badwater ultra marathon when his body was screaming, stop. For you, it could be something like, I studied for 10 hours straight and aced my math test. Or, I moved to a new city alone and figured out how to survive. No win is too small. Write it all down. Step 2. Keep your jar handy. Once you've got your list, don't just shove it in a drawer. Keep it somewhere you can see it, like on your phone's notes app, a sticky note on your mirror, or even a journal by your bed. The idea is to have your cookies ready when you need a boost. Goggins says it's like recharging your battery. When you're exhausted, say, you're studying for finals or dealing with a tough day at work, look at your list and remind yourself, yo, I'm the person who did that. I can handle this. You can get creative with this. Some people make a physical jar by writing their wins on little slips of paper and putting them in a real jar. Others use a vision board or a playlist of songs that remind them of their victories. Whatever vibe works for you, make it yours. Step 3. Use it when you're stuck. Here's where the magic happens. Let's say you're working on a big project and you're so tired you want to quit. Or you're trying to stick to a new habit, like waking up early, but your bed is calling your name. That's when you reach into your cookie jar. Pick one of your wins and let it remind you that you're tougher than you feel right now. It's like Goggins in that ultra marathon. Halfway through, his body was done, but he remembered his past wins, like surviving tough times as a kid or crushing it in the Navy. That gave him the mental juice to keep running. For example, maybe you're stressing about a job interview. Look at your cookie jar and see, hey, I gave a killer speech in front of my class last year, even though I was terrified. That memory boosts your confidence and reminds you that you've got this. It's not about being perfect. It's about knowing you've beaten tough stuff before. Why it works. The cookie jar technique works because it flips your mindset. Instead of focusing on how hard things are right now, you focus on how strong you've been in the past. It's like giving your brain a high five and saying, we've got this. Science even backs this up when you remind yourself of past successes. It boosts your willpower, kind of like how lifting weights makes your muscles stronger over time. Goggins calls it tapping into that extra 60% of your potential that you don't normally use. So, start building your cookie jar today. Write down at least 5-10 wins and keep adding to it every time you do something awesome. The more cookies you have, the more you can pull out when life gets real. Cookie jar technique. Making it your superpower. All right, we've been on a journey with David Goggins and his cookie jar technique. In part 1, we met this absolute beast of a guy who went from overweight and down to crushing insane challenges like 400 pull-ups and 220 ultra marathons. We learned a secret. When you're ready to quit, you're only at 40% of your potential, and the cookie jar technique helps you tap into that extra 60%. In part 2, we got hands-on, talking about how to build your own cookie jar by listing your wins and keeping them ready for tough moments. Now, let's wrap this up with how to make this technique a habit, some real-life examples, and why it's your ticket to becoming a tougher, better you. Ciao. Making the cookie jar a habit. So, you've got your cookie jar, your list of wins, big or small, written on your phone or a piece of paper. Maybe it's stuff like passing a killer exam, running your first 5K, or just surviving a rough week. But how do you make this a part of your life, like brushing your teeth or checking your phone? It's all about consistency and keeping your jar growing. Here's how to do it. Review your jar regularly. Spend a minute every morning or night looking at your list. It's like charging your mental battery for the day. Goggins didn't just think about his wins. Once he used them every time he hit a wall, like during that brutal Badwater Ultra Marathon we talked about in part 1. For you, maybe it's before a big test or a tough convo with your boss. Glance at your jar and think, I've done hard stuff before. I'm ready. Add new cookies. Every time you pull off something awesome, add it to your jar. Did you finish a project you were stressing about? Cookie. Stood up to someone being rude? Cookie. Even small wins, like cooking a new recipe or waking up early, count. The more cookies you add, the stronger your jar gets. Goggins kept adding to his like finishing SEAL training or raising money for soldiers' families, and it made him unstoppable. Get creative with reminders. Your jar doesn't have to be just a list. Try setting a phone wallpaper with a quote from one of your wins, like, I aced that test. Or record a voice memo to yourself, hyping up your past successes. You could even email your future self, like, yo, you crushed it last year, keep it up. This keeps your wins fresh, so when you're feeling low, you've got a quick boost. Real-life examples. Let's see how this works in action. Say you're a student, cramming for finals, and you're so tired you want to toss your books out the window. You check your cookie jar and see, I studied 10 hours for that chemistry test last semester and got an A. That memory reminds you that you've got the grit to keep going. Or maybe you're starting a new job and feel like you're in over your head. You look at your jar. I moved to a new city alone and figured it out. Boom. Instant confidence. Here's another one. Imagine you're trying to get fit but keep skipping the gym. You're like, I can't do this. Then you pull out a cookie. I lost 5 kilos last year by sticking to my diet. That's your proof you can stay disciplined. It's like Goggins at mile 70 of the Badwater Ultra Marathon when his body was done, but he remembered surviving Navy SEAL Hell Week and kept running. Your cookies do the same for you. They're proof you're tougher than your toughest moments. Why this matters. The cookie jar technique isn't just about getting through one hard day. It's about building a mindset that makes you unstoppable. Like we said in part 1, Goggins believes we only use 40% of our potential when we're tired or frustrated. Your cookie jar is the key to unlocking the rest. Every time you use it, you're training your brain to focus on what you can do, not what you can't. It's like a muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets. Science says recalling past successes boosts your willpower. So you're not just hyping yourself up, you're rewiring your brain to handle bigger challenges. Think of it like this. Goggins didn't finish that 135-mile marathon because he was born superhuman. He did it by remembering all the times he'd already beaten the odds, from his tough childhood to crushing military training. You've got your own odds. You've beaten. Maybe it's getting through a breakup, learning a new skill, or just showing up when you didn't want to. Every cookie in your jar is a reminder that you're already a badass, even if you don't feel like it right now. Final thoughts. So here's the deal. Start small, build your cookie jar, and use it whenever life tries to knock you down. Keep adding to it, and soon you'll have a jar so full it's overflowing with proof of your strength. Whether you're chasing a dream, surviving a tough day, or just trying to be a better you, your cookie jar is your secret weapon. Like Goggins running through the desert, you've got more in you than you think. So grab a pen, add a new cookie today, and keep pushing forward. You got this.